Here we go, another episode of Canada on the Rocks. I am your host, Fadi Kuder, local realtor with Sutton Group, Ottawa. And today I am joined with one of my friends, but not really friends. I was friends with her sister, not knowing that they're sisters. They knew that they were twins. But here we are, Carina Guzman. How are you?
Doing great, Fadi. How are you doing?
I'm doing fantastic. I've heard a lot about creative dev. We've had Dave on the show.
Yes, my
Talked a little
husband.
bit more. Yeah, talked a lot more about creative dev. And I want to kind of get your perspective on it since you are sort of the woman behind the scenes running the show.
Yep.
I wanted to ask you a question about, the mentor-mentee relationship. How are you a big opponent or a supporter, if you will, of like the mentor or the mentee being in a relationship, like financial relationship in a way?
So maybe you can clarify that a little bit.
Absolutely. So like, let's just say I'm new to this and I'm like just about to take on a project and you're my mentor. I bring the project to you and say, I'd love for you to be a part of it and possibly have some sort of an incentive financially.
Right. So you know what? I get that a lot. And I think it makes a lot of sense because a lot of the students maybe would want to have a leverage, feel like I'm not the expert yet,
Mm-hmm.
but if I can bring somebody who is an expert into my team, then that gives me the confidence, of course, and it's the leverage.
It's like that whole pay to play in a way.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. So it definitely happens, I think. I don't go in it for that. So I will say that I like to keep my students and my coaching relationships separate from it. However, it will at some point, or not will, but sometimes it does work out where there is an opportunity for us to partner onto something. And at that point, I'm not coming in as a coach or a mentor. I'm coming in as a partner to the project. And CDV, my company, will potentially invest into the deal and actually go in and do it together. We'll bring our network, we'll bring our builder partners, we'll bring our infrastructure partners, our entire team. So in that respect, we may undertake some of these projects as a partnership into it. Of course, it makes sense because at that point, the student may have brought a deal that we've started from scratch. So I'm very intimately in there underwriting the deal and looking at the deal and all of those things. So
And I think it makes sense.
sometimes
I'm actually like, I'm of the school of like, no, I'd love the mentor or like the mentor. I would love for them to be a part of the deal because then I would feel like, I'll give you an example. When I first started in real estate, I would love, and I've always wanted my mentors to be part of my deal. The reason being is because then I feel like they have a lot more skin in the game.
Yeah,
And they're coaching me and giving me because there is an incentive for them.
exactly.
You know what I mean? I think it's a win-win when you do it that way.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, like just to give you an example, Fadi, like within CDV, when we undertake some of our own projects, we have our builder network and our builder partners that come in. And a lot of the times they're coming in right from the beginning. They're not coming in once we've gotten all the approvals. They're coming in once we are right at the beginning. I'm calling them up. I'm looking at this property. It looks prime for this kind of build. You're the builder that does that kind of build. Would you be interested? And a lot of times they're coming in and even investing right from the beginning. So like you said, they're putting skin in the game right from the start.
Especially because a lot of the builders, they don't necessarily want to do that heavy lifting at the beginning because for them, what they do best, and we've talked about this off camera, what they do best is really construction, right? Like I said earlier, like give the bread to the bread maker. Even if they take half of it, at the end of the day, it's done right. It's going to be delicious.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And that's it. It really works out really great. And us as developers, we really enjoy having our builder partners come at the beginning, and they now become almost like part of the team, and they're putting a lot of say into how the development will look like, because at the end of the day, they're going to take it over.
Yeah.
So it just makes so much sense. It makes it like a dream team to work together.
And it's a lot easier too. Like
a lot easier.
There's so many situations when I've seen it when I was younger with my father being an architect, right? Like the architect will love to build a special plan and it looks like this and it's like utopia.
Yeah.
But then all of a sudden when you pass it on to the builder, it just does not
Completely,
materialize.
yes.
Right?
They
Or it's just not
remove
possible.
things
Yeah. They'll remove things, some things are
Change
not
things,
available, some
budget,
material.
yeah.
Exactly. Budget. And knowing all of that, those intricacies that come to, get the project going. I wanted to ask you, what are some of the pitfalls that you've seen over the years with land development or investing in real estate to start with?
Oh my gosh, so many. Where do I even begin?
We've got an hour.
I would say probably real estate investing in general is when people are not buying it right from the beginning. And like not buying it right can literally set you off to a whole trail of terrible things happening later on.
There's so many flip projects that we were able to be the second, like, my developers or my builders are actually the second buying that property because someone who had already bought it, try to flip it. And you can see some of the work is half done or like the kitchen is a little bit and whatever, but then they bankrupt. And then they're selling it. The bank is selling it instead of them selling it.
Yeah.
So you could imagine how much money they've lost there.
And this happens, I find so much, maybe I shouldn't say so much more, but I just feel like it happens so much in land development.
Yeah.
Because this is a niche that it's not well documented.
No.
There really isn't a lot of education around it. It's almost like that. How many times have you had somebody say, go to a builder and they'll say, what is the price per square foot to construct, to build? You can get a million responses. Someone will say $200 per square foot. Somebody will say $450.
Yeah, I was going to say that's basically like trying to find 100 liars.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
You can get, and so development is like that too, where it's not documented and most people do not know how to underwrite development deals. It's very different than any other strategy. And so I understand why you can get in the hype when you see like a big sign that says development land for sale and everybody's like, oh my God, I want to buy it. I want to do something like that. And they'll just pay for that. But just because that's what they're asking for it doesn't mean that you should pay for that.
100%. And this actually goes to that same sort of issue that I see quite often in my side of the things. When you have real estate agents that are like, your job is to do resale. I'm not sure why you got into land development. Like you don't have the expertise to give. So why are you, giving the expertise to this poor person that's trying to develop, but they also don't have the expertise? It's like a blind leading the blind. You know what I mean? You're fantastic in selling condos. Stick with that. You're fantastic in doing resale. Stick with that. Some people are really good at, certain things and they stick with it. So that's one of the biggest things that I find, like the buy really makes or breaks the whole entire deal.
It does. It does so much. And that goes back to bring on somebody who does that thing that you want to do, whether that's a coach, you're taking courses or a mentor, or somebody who, if you're looking to get into development or whatever it is that you're looking to get into, find somebody who knows how to do that thing. The same with a builder, right? You wouldn't hire a builder to look at your semis if that builder only builds high rises.
Yeah.
You have to find the right architect or builder who builds that thing that you want to do. And that's where you really need to niche down and get clear on what it is that you want.
Yeah, it's like basically like asking a plumber to do electrical work for you. It's just not gonna happen.
Exactly.
That's their expertise. That's what they're good at. That's what they're gonna deliver. Now, with that being said, what does the course look like as far as the material, the intensity, the time, the expectations?
So the course is quite intensive, I will say, because we've condensed it all. It'll take somebody about 80 hours of actual online content to go through, but then there's homework. So my course is meant to teach somebody to actually take on a development project from start to finish. And so as part of that, there is the online modules, which are self-paced. Somebody can take it on and you can listen to it and then listen to it in the car again and again and again, just to go through the content. It includes a lot of like the actual teaching component, but then there's a lot of demos and case studies within the course to also watch. The demos are quite intensive, and it's literally to walk you through step by step by step on how to underwrite the deal, how to do proper due diligence, all of the little intricacies, the details, to help somebody understand how to apply it. Then, once you have gone through the actual content, there's homework pieces that have to be completed. And then there's also a ton of resources that somebody can download right from the course, which includes checklists. It might include a flow chart of some sort. It might require you to make some phone calls and do some work pieces. There's also
Phone calls. What are those?
oh yes, phone calls. Actually becoming active and actually doing the work is
Trying to say
a big
that to
component.
some of like my colleagues, some of other realtors out there, like you got to make phone calls. Like, well, no, like the business comes, it doesn't come. You got to make phone calls.
One thing I love to tell my students and even my team, right, is we always say, go in person. Wherever you can meet people in person.
It's very hard
Do
for
it.
them to duck out. Right? Like
Yeah.
if you go in person and you're like, hey, I'm here. And they're like, okay. Same as door knocking, by the way.
Yeah.
And like some people just, they don't have the nerves to do it, but it just makes a lot of sense to actually just go, hey, like I'm just interested
Hey,
in this.
I did it when I first started.
Yeah.
Just do it. Just do it at least once.
Rip the bandit and get it done. The one thing I find, and correct me if I'm wrong with this, I find the beauty is in the work that we're avoiding.
Right, yeah.
Anytime we avoid something like the homework that you're talking about, if you avoid that, that's literally where you're going to learn.
Yeah,
Phone calls. If you avoid that, that's literally where you're going to get clients calling.
exactly.
Reaching out to a certain builder or whatever. Like that's by you putting hurdles in your way, the work that you're avoiding is really the beauty. And you're going to
Yeah.
learn from it so much.
And you're avoiding it because it's probably out of your comfort zone and you don't know what to do or you feel awkward about it or fearful about it. So you're avoiding that work.
Yeah.
But you're right. You know exactly that's where you have to go so that you grow and you learn.
Yeah.
From
Muscles
that
don't grow when
experience.
you're sitting on the couch.
Exactly.
You gotta be
You got to go to
uncomfortable.
the gym.
You got to go to the gym. You got to sweat. You only grow when you're actually uncomfortable.
That's it.
Let me ask you a little bit more. So we've talked about roughly 80 hours or so for the course in terms of like intensity and all of that. Once you've done the course, you've done the homework, what's next?
So for the Land Development Academy, we have what we've really tried to put together is something where people can keep growing into. So there is the Accelerator program, which is that program that we just talked about, start to finish, 80 hours self-paced content. But after that, we have a whole entire Facebook community that the students are enrolled into as part of joining the program. We also have monthly touch points, so I call them question blitz. So I find one of the biggest key factors as a coach is to give my students a lot of support in what they're doing. So as part of enrolling into the program, you also get access into the question blitz. And this is once a month phone calls. It's literally just me sitting there with all of the students. They bring all their questions and we go through as many questions as possible on that call to give them the support and the help and the guidance that they need, or maybe perhaps it's clarification. That I find is one of the biggest value add for a lot of the students that come in to the course because they still get the time with me to ask me direct questions. So that's really big, and I'm really big on that because I'm there to support. My role is to support the students. There's also, of course, one-on-one coaching that can be brought on, and that's an additional part of the program, of course, but there is also that option as well. And then also we have additional bonus content that we're constantly bringing in. So we have a lot of new experts that are coming in all the time. I call them coffee chats. So we have one-on-one with like my accountant or my bookkeeper or my mortgage broker or my builder or my GC. So we have a lot of other experts that also come in to provide insights into whatever the case might be, their expertise, so that we're giving the students more of a holistic view of what other pieces of the pie look like within the whole entire land development space. So it's not just Carina teaching you about land development, which is obviously the foundation of the course, but it's also other experts bringing in their expertise into the program so that the students get to feel what it really is like to run a land development project.
That's fantastic. I love the fact that you guys have the whole continuous learning because I'm a big advocate of like if you stop learning, you stop growing. Stop growing, you're going the other way. Might as well dig a grave. But that's basically it. Like With that being said, I just wanted to kind of dig in. Like, let's say I'm off the street. I've never done anything. I'm not a real estate. I want to start doing the course. What does that look like for me in terms of financial commitment? It doesn't have to be an exact number, but just, how much should I budget for something like that? And how long would it take for me to start looking into projects if I've got a little bit of cash?
So the course itself, I mean, it's as soon as you enroll. Right now, it's a $3,500 course to register, and as soon as you register, you have access to the course. It's immediate. You enroll, you get the link, you start. In terms of the actual budget for moving into a first land development project, I would say give yourself, minimum 6 months to really learn the content and practice. And we give a lot of, like I said, homework to the students. So one of them is like, go and look at a bunch of potential projects and underwrite them first. So you're going through a lot of self-practice on your own and learning how to properly underwrite it. And ideally, where you want to get to is where you want to see, nope, this is not good. This doesn't look good. Next, let's look at this one. The numbers don't work. Next. And you're going to do that 100 times before you even find your very first gem.
Yeah.
And that's where you know, like, oh my God, these numbers look amazing. I can buy it for a really great price. These numbers make sense from start to finish.
Yeah. And when those numbers don't, I don't mean to cut you off there, but I was going to say when those numbers really make sense, this is when you have to do the calculation at least 6 or 7 times.
To make sure.
And then you jump on it.
Exactly.
Because then at that point, you know for a fact, like you've done the numbers left, right, and center. And then that's when you bring a coach and go, hey, can you just take a look at the numbers for me one more time?
You got it.
Because I'm just about to make a mistake. Maybe not. It might be the best mistake of my life.
Yes, exactly. And that's one key thing, Fadi, that I love to keep telling my students. You're meant to go through a lot, okay?
Yeah.
Go through so many that are just going to be trash. It's just going to be, you're going to throw it in the garbage can, go to the next one. That is actually a good thing. That is the process, and that's what you should be going into. And in fact, I think that's pretty much the same case for any real estate strategy. You
100%.
should be looking at 100 apartment buildings before you find that absolute amazing gem.
And that's the thing too. Like if we always compare real estate to the gym. We compare it to a lot of things. Like nothing happens in vacuum. We only see the tip of the ice. We only see that little iceberg, but we don't see what's behind the scenes. What took to get that thing there. Like Usain Bolt, for example, didn't just become the fastest runner just like that. He had to run and run and run. Same thing here.
Years and years, right? And I get it. Everybody wants instant gratification. I'm taking a course. I want to see the results of that course. I absolutely understand it. But what I think a lot of people maybe perhaps are not really accounting for is that the process of you looking at multiple deals and them not working out is actually the growth part.
Yeah.
Is actually what is supposed to happen.
Yeah. You learn from the mistakes.
You learn,
You learn
you're
absolutely
learning
from the mistakes.
them. And that's something to be accounted for, whereas most people will stay on, I haven't got to that result that I'm looking to get to, so there's a gap here. When in reality, you should be adding at like, hey, I just underwrote something and it didn't work out, and I just threw it out and I went through 5 others and it didn't work. That's actually a gain.
It reminds me when the days I used to do cold calls and we would sit there and be like, okay, we're going to do, 70 calls today. And I'm literally like the whole time I'm going, pick up the phone. Hey, no, hang up. Every time someone says no, I have the biggest smile on my face and people are like, what are you doing? I'm like, I just feel like I'm going to get to that yes. Because literally all it takes is just you conditioning yourself on the no. And what happens every time someone says no or the deal doesn't work in the situation, you're learning something new.
Exactly.
You're learning that nuance of like, he said this to me and I said this and it didn't work out. Next time I'm going to say it in a different way. I've done the numbers this way and it didn't work out. Next time I'm going to do it a little bit differently until it works.
Exactly.
And then when it works, it really works.
That's it. And it really works. And the same is true for, let's say you're negotiating the deal. Maybe you did find one and it looked interesting and great and you were super excited. And then you went and called and made the inquiry and walked the property and met the sellers or whatever, or the agents. And, asked the questions, got all that, and then you put in an offer, didn't get accepted, put in another one, didn't get accepted. That is still part of the process.
Yeah.
Just like what you said. So
Well, the other thing too is like you built a really good relationship with that agent, putting a couple of offers.
exactly.
Sometimes, like I've had folks that I've done maybe 20 offers for back in in the days with multiples, and you go 20, 30 homes, and they just love it. They want to put an offer right away, and then they lose it, and they lose it, and they lose it. What happens though? Our relationship gets built over the time, and like we're friends for life because of that.
And then it makes you a better agent because then you're like, oh, I know exactly what they were looking for.
Yeah.
Right.
And they've also taught me how to write contracts so fast. Like I used to, take me about an hour to write an offer. Now it takes me about 15 minutes to write an offer.
There you go.
And that's if I like have certain conditions that I got to put in and like be a little bit more extra diligent. So
Yeah.
there's nothing wrong with making mistakes. There's nothing wrong with doing the practice. The beauty is in doing the work that nobody wants to do.
Exactly. And don't think that it's going to happen overnight. And give yourself the time to learn it, go through the process, do the homework, do the steps, take the action, fail a little bit, go to the next. And that's all meant to happen. It's
And
part
one
of
big thing for folks out there, like, this might sound like self-serving, but I'm going to say it anyways. Do not work with an agent that did not work in development, or someone that did not do a flip,
Yes.
or don't know how to do it. Like that. That should be your first instinct. Is, hey, have you done any projects like this before? Have you worked with any investors like this before? If you haven't, if they have not, walk away. There's so many agents out there.
Absolutely. I agree with you. And that's actually one of our niche. I get a lot of brokerages contacting me, right? They want to give their agents the course so that at least they learn and they can provide that extra bit of value to their student or to their clients to make sure like, okay, I can help you underwrite it. I can help you look at the zoning. I can help you call the city and make a few, questions on your behalf so that you have the information that you would need. I'm getting a lot of that. And I think it makes a lot of sense for a lot of these.
Yeah, I mean, when you think about it too, like we do continuous learning. Every 2 years we have to do a bunch of courses. Think about it as one of the courses that you're going to do anyways. You know what I mean? And it's the more you add to your tool belt, the better agent you become.
Absolutely. You have to differentiate yourself
100%.
from the rest.
Now, I wanted to put you on the spot a little bit, if that's okay with you. This is probably going to air out in like the first couple of weeks of 2025.
Okay.
What do we want to do for folks that are trying to get into development, trying to learn the course? Is there any incentive for them to, just reach out to you and say, hey, we saw you on this podcast. What can we do to join?
Yeah, so we do have, like right now, for example, it's funny because we have Thanksgiving, Black Friday today, actually. So when you guys hear this one, it's already passed, but we do have a special sale going on for Black Friday. And we do expect to have another one coming up for the new year as people are looking to set new goals and learn something new and grow and get themselves out of the comfort zone. So we'll definitely be running a lot more of those programs as well. Right now we have a really great one happening, but I'm sure we're going to have more of those. We also have, I just did my very first one for Land Development Academy webinar that was just last week. And the webinar is really to not just tell people about the Land Development Academy, but I actually do a coaching, a teaching component. And we answer some questions for it live, so that it helps students or potential students see what
they're getting
into.
Exactly.
And we're going to be doing 2 more. So there's going to be one in mid-January coming up, so 2025. We're going to have another one, and we have a lot of bonus content and, of course, a discount at that point in time. And then we have another one coming up mid-February as well. So for those of you watching
definitely going to make the February one for sure.
Absolutely. Okay.
So we'll make sure that this airs out before the February one, so at least people can see it and they know that it's coming and all of that.
Perfect.
Karina, I wish we have more time.
I know.
I feel like
fast.
with you and Dave, I just like we never stop talking. The conversation is always flowing. There's no awkward moments. It's just fantastic because we have so much to learn from one another.
Yeah.
And I love that. And I would love for people to really take this seriously as well, too, because like it's one of those things where you're never going to get richer than dealing or working in real estate. It's not going to be
Real
fast,
estate is a great avenue.
right? It's not going to be fast, but it's definitely the most solid investments ever. So I appreciate you being on the show. I appreciate that you're making the time for us. And for folks that are watching, if you guys like what you see, please don't forget to hit the like button and comment in the comment section. Let us know about any business that you would think of in the city of Ottawa that deserves to be on this podcast. And it doesn't have to be just the city of Ottawa. Anywhere around Ottawa, Gatineau's welcome as well too, even though we don't do business there, but we're still going to serve them. With that being said, subscribe. Hit that little bell icon so you can get more and more alerts every time an episode comes out, and you'll learn about businesses around the city. And there's always incentives. There's always something to learn. And we try to make it as fun as possible. Thanks again. Love to see you soon.